Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm your Kennywood fanatic and I hope you all are having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. I know I am. One of my friends has this series on his Snapchat story where he sees if food is a bus or a bust. And I asked him permission to do that and he gave it to me. So I'm doing that, but with roller coasters. If something is a bust, it means it exceeded my expectations, and if it's a bust, that means it didn't quite reach my expectations. Also, one last side note, this is only on the roller coasters that were new to me in 2025, so only my new 2025 credits. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off strong with Top Thrill 2. It's a bus. Top Thrill 2 was an insane ride. The front row is where these launch coasters shine. The spike has great airtime and the top hat has insane ejector. The swing launch is also surprisingly forceful. I know off-ride and from this footage, it doesn't look like the swing launch packs too much of a punch, but it's pretty intense. Wild Mouse is sadly a bust. Wild Mouse is not inherently a bad ride. It's smooth and the spinning is fun. My major problem with this ride is how tight the cars are. If you go back and watch my Cedar Point vlog, you can see the height difference between me and everyone else in the group. I started not getting full on leg cramps, but my legs were uncomfortable during the ride. Siren's Curse is 110% a bust. I avoided all spoilers about this ride, and boy howdy, am I happy that I did. The onboard audio is cool, the way it times up with the tilt. The in-queue theming is great, and so is the station theming. This ride snuck its way into my top 20 off of just one ride. My only complaint is that the queue has absolutely no shade whatsoever. On a hot summer day, it's low-key miserable to wait for this ride. Superman Ride of Steel is a bust. I thought this ride would be good. It's an Intamin Hyper, how could it not be? And well, I'm happy to report that it was great. It was not the strongest of rides, but it still packed a punch. The airtime on all the hills hit, and the two helixes were very forceful to the point where I almost blacked out. Also, the straight track is super underrated on it. Like my friend Max and I, we played rock, paper, scissors on the straight track. This ride is honestly super underrated. I'm so sad that you cannot experience it anymore, at least at Six Flags America. You can still do that at Six Flags Darien Lake. So, for some backstory, I hate Flight of Fear, so I went in this ready for the worst, and it may have been my favorite ride in the whole park. Joker's Jinx is definitely a bust. The launch is actually forceful, and the exemption of trims on this ride helped it flow so much in the second half. The second half on Flight of Fear is buns. It's one of the worst second halves on any roller coaster whatsoever, but I actually enjoyed the second half on Joker's Jinx. Firebird is a bust. I know what a lot of people are going to say. Kennywood fanatic, Firebird is crap. How could it be a bust? Remember that if it exceeds my expectations, it's a bust. And well, it did just that. There's only one janky transition, and I thought the loop and corkscrew were very forceful. Overall, I don't understand why this ride gets so much hate, but it does. Roar is a bust. The same logic with Firebird applies to Roar. Roar was actually really enjoyable. Yes, it's not super smooth, but it's a wooden coaster. Who expects a Woody to be smooth? No, its airtime wasn't the strongest, but it had a good mix of airtime with positive and lateral forces. Raging Cajun is a bust. My last credit from Six Flags America, Raging Cajun is an outdoor exterminator. It's super cool to ride what would normally be inside for me, but outside. These Reverchon Wild Mice have really underrated spinning to them, plus with 3 large adults, we got that car spinning like a tornado. I'm shocked to say that all my credits from Six Flags America were buses. I don't know if that's just because my expectations were in the garbage for them or what, but they all exceeded my expectations by a mile. Lightning Racer is sadly a bust. I love GCI and I can tolerate a rough Woody, but this thing is pretty much all potholes. Not to mention it's forceless. I do love the dueling aspect though, and that's the thing that redeems it for me. I think my expectations were something like Mystic Timbers or Thunderhead, but with dueling, and it ended up being a worse version of Roar. Stormrunner is a bust. If you watched my top 10 video, then you would know that this is my sleeper hit of the year. The launch is so crazy and probably my favorite launch that I've ever done, but it's not a one-trick pony. The top hat's airtime is almost unrivaled. The Cobra Loop is interesting, and the Flying Snake Dive is bonkers. The Flying Snake Dive is probably one of my top 5 favorite elements. It's up there with the quad down on Lightning Rod, the Drachenfire dive drop on Steel Curtain, and the Mosasaurus roll on Velocicoaster. Stormrunner was one of 2 new credits to move in my top 10 this year, and let's just say that it has a home in my top 10 for a while. Trailblazer is a bust. Don't get me wrong, Trailblazer has its charm, but it does nothing. Even the helix at the end isn't that great.
I thoroughly enjoy Aero Mine Trains. Like Adventure Express, that's one of my favorite rides ever. Not my top 20 or anything, but it's still an amazing ride, and I love it to death. But Trailblazer is missing the qualities I look for in a mine train, like Adventure Express. Like, there's no real theming. It's just kind of there. It's kind of plopped down. And yes, it's a good family ride. It's a good ride for kids to get used to things like speed in the Helix and things like positive and lateral G-forces in the Helix. But it could be so much better than it is, and I see so many better Aero Mine Trains out there.
Great Bear is sadly a bust. It's in no way a bad ride. It's actually quite solid. I think I just went in expecting a little more. The second half just kind of meanders, dodging other attractions, and I was hoping for something more aggressive like Raptor or Alpengeist. Like I said, not a bad ride. For example, the Helix on the drop and the vertical loop both have insane positive G-forces, and the zero G-roll is also quite great. But it's the second half that's just meandery that kind of kills it for me. Candemonium is a bus. I went into Candy thinking it was going to be a better version of Apollo's Chariot, and to an extent it was. But it was more of a Baby Orion than anything else. The first half is great in every row. The second half gets neutered due to the trims on some of the hills, but in the front row it's still a great experience. Candy is super smooth and I definitely recommend it. It's my favorite hyper at the park. Don't kill me. Fahrenheit is sadly a bust. This is one where the ride itself is solid, but the operations are what kills it. They stack the trains on this thing every single time. My legs started cramping up on the brake run, and we were sitting there for a solid 5 minutes. The way the brake run is set up, it's almost like the park was going to add an unload station, but decided it was too expensive to do so they just opted for a single-use station. Also, these trains, you might think they're the same as Storm Runners, but they're not. They're not very comfortable. They're very uncomfortable for tall people.
Jolly Rancher Remix is low-key a bus. It was my first true boomerang. Yes, I had done in Vertigo, but that's more like a boomerang SLC baby. The vest restraints save Jolly Rancher Remix. Without them, the ride might be too headbangery, but the vest restraints eliminate all chance of headbanging on the ride. Okay, I'm sure we're all aware how much I love this ride by now, but Wildcat's Revenge is a bust. This is my second favorite new credit, and for good reason. In the back row, literally every element hits. The wave turns, the drop, and any other hill is insane with airtime. The inversions are all whippy with outstanding hang time, and I went in expecting that this would be one of my favorite coasters, and after my first ride, I was ready to call this a bust. But after rides 2 through 4, this thing redeemed itself, and I regularly debate whether or not I like this or Steve more. Super Duper Looper is a bust. I had never done a Schwarzkopf coaster before, so I went in not knowing what to expect. I had heard Schwarzkopfs are smooth, but I really didn't know. The loop was very forceful, but after the loop, it feels kind of like a somewhat smoother mine train. It's not excellent, but also not horrible. It's just kind of there. I do prefer this to Trailblazer, though, because it feels like a more exciting mine train with how you're, like, right up against this, like, big hill / cliff face kind of thing. Comet is a bus. My home park is Kennywood, so I'm obviously a sucker for old Woodies. Comet doesn't really do much. It's just kind of bouncy, but the feeling you get on a classic Woody is like no other. Skyrush is one of those coasters that I've been hearing a lot about. A lot of good and a lot of bad. And now that I finally wrote it, I'm excited to give my 2 cents on it. Skyrush, for me, at least, is a bust. Now let me explain. Skyrush is an intimate hyper, so why is it a bust? This ride is phenomenal. The drop is crazy, and the airtime is super strong. But the airtime is kind of the major drawback to the ride. You're probably asking yourself, who is this kid? He claims to love airtime, so why is he saying airtime is the major drawback? Well, let me explain. Yes, the new restraints are better than what I imagined the old ones to be. But in the valley after the first drop, they still come down super hard and you're stapled for the whole ride. And, well, the way that the restraints are molded, let's just say it's not the most comfortable for men. Whenever you're in the station and on the brake run even, the trains are super comfortable and they're nice. But whenever they're being shoved down on you, there's this piece of molding that is just kind of shoving into an area that you don't want it to be shoving into. I don't know what the fix would be. They tried new restraints. They have all this stuff that they've tried with Skyrush to make it more comfortable, more rideable. It's not completely out of the question for me, but it's just not comfortable for guys. Also,
on the wing seats, I don't know about the inner seats because I only got one ride on it and it was on a wing seat. But at least on the wing seats, there's a lot of jackhammering. I don't know if it's the same on the inside seats or not, but yes. So I am on the Sky Rush Not fan club. I think it's still a great ride, don't get me wrong. It's still on my top 20, don't get me wrong. It's barely in there at my number 20. But it's not the best ride in the world. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts and whether you disagree or not in the comment section below. Shout out to Stoneheart Coasters, ES Coasters, 305 Coasters, Airtime Thrills, Amusement Insider, Pennsylvania New Jersey Thrills, Coaster College 2, Wildcats Revenge Thrills, Northeastern Thrills, The Coaster Scoop, and Dopamine Coasters for letting me borrow content for this video. Please exit safely to right and have a great rest of your day here at Kennywood Park.